Good evening and thank you for joining us. Investigators appear to have a mystery on their hands after a small plane crashed east of Marathon. According to officials with Air Search and Rescue, the Cessna 172 was rented Wednesday in Ann Arbor, Michigan and destined for Harbor Springs, Michigan. But the plane apparently overshot its destination airport and the last radar contact was noted over Lake Superior. Search and rescue personnel located the crash site late Wednesday night, about 60 kilometers east of Marathon. 2 rescue technicians were airlifted to the site, but upon arrival, they found the plane unoccupied, and there were no footprints in the snow around the wreckage. Officials say it appears the plane had been on autopilot and crashed after exhausting its fuel supply. The investigation is now in the hands of the OPP and the Transportation Safety Board. Emergency responders in Thunder Bay are expressing concern over the upcoming suspension of the Shelter House's SOS program. It provides rides and assistance to homeless people on city streets, but funding shortfalls are forcing a temporary shutdown starting April 1st. As Adam Riley reports, there's fear that will lead to more calls to police and EMS.
The countdown is on until the suspension of Shelter House's SOS program, a mobile unit which provides assistance to the city's homeless population, takes effect. In 2016, SOS provided nearly 5,000 rides and gave out 22,000 items to assist those living on the streets. As of April 1st, a funding shortfall will cause the shutdown of the program for the summer months, which in turn will place the burden of dealing with homeless people in crisis solely upon police and EMS. Deputy Police Chief Sylvie Hoth says they don't wish to criminalize an entire group of citizens.
When we do get a call for service, for example, for someone who's intoxicated in a public place, what we want to do is find other avenues than just the police reaction, meaning that our officers can contact detox, can contact the shelter house if other appropriate means are available to help the person, as opposed to criminalizing and coming to jail.
Hoth says they can advocate for the continuation of the program by showing the numbers of calls for service before and after the suspension begins. Calls for service from the Superior North EMS would also create a backlog of service calls on their end. EMS Chief Wayne Gates says the SOS program provides assistance to them when there are patients who don't require immediate medical attention.
It's definitely a good service for people that have really no other means. Often they're left just calling 911 because they have no other means to get transported to emerge, even though it might not be a life-threatening emergency or whatever. If they do need some form of transport, they need to get to shelter. It's a great program for that, and there is concern from EMS that if that program is no longer available, it probably is going to become a bit of a burden for us.
Both Hoth and Gates say that funding for the SOS program is not part of the mandates for their respected agencies. Officials with Shelter House say it costs them $53 per service call through SOS, but that number is almost quadrupled for police and/or EMS. Adam Riley, TBT News.
Some major damage, but no serious injuries following a head-on collision in the city last night. It happened around 9:30 in the area of Conestoga and North James Streets when one of the vehicles involved crossed the center line and struck an oncoming vehicle. The driver of the first vehicle, a man in his 20s, has been charged with impaired driving. One of the people involved in the crash was transported to hospital with minor injuries. Police say both drivers were wearing their seatbelts, which prevented much more serious consequences. Thunder Bay Police have made an arrest in connection with a pair of break-and-enters and thefts at the Little Mermaid dress shop on May Street. Police responded to the first incident Sunday morning. The culprits smashed a front window and 4 dresses from the store were taken. Then on Monday morning, 2 suspects smashed a different front window, entered the store and took around $20,000 worth of items. Police released surveillance images and managed to find most of the stolen merchandise on Monday afternoon, but it took until Wednesday night for officers to locate and arrest one of the suspects. A 27-year-old man is charged with 2 counts of break-and-enter and possession of stolen property. Police are still looking for a young person who was identified as the second suspect in this incident. The president of the Thunder Bay Chamber of Commerce says the lumber industry needs federal loan guarantees and aggressive negotiating to stop softwood lumber tariffs from the U.S. Charlotte Robinson and several other chamber leaders are lobbying the Prime Minister to help Canada's forest companies, which are on the verge of a cross-border trade war. Molly Fromer reports.
Charlotte Robinson is lending her voice to the Ontario and Quebec Chambers of Commerce, which have sent a letter to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. It's urging the government to provide loan guarantees to support the Canadian forestry sector's legal action over potential trade barriers on softwood lumber. In the U.S., it's the federal government that pays for all the legal battles regarding tariffs. But in Canada, it's the forestry companies who cover the legal bills.
Companies have to put the dollars that they would be paying in those tariffs into a special little bank account to show that they have the money to pay those at the end if they lose. And so that means that those dollars are not available to the businesses to use. So, you're putting $20 million in a bank account over here because in 6 years you might be settling a long, drawn-out trade dispute. Obviously, that means you're not spending that $20 million to upgrade your facility, to pay your bills, etc.
The original softwood lumber agreement expired in 2015, and within the next 60 days, some sort of quota or tariff from the U.S. Department of Commerce is expected to come through. Robinson says the industry in Canada is gearing up for whatever the U.S. will present and continuing negotiations to try to come to an agreement. MP and Labour Minister Patty Hajdu says they are still optimistic they will come to an agreement, and adds they are there to defend the industry in every way possible.
We think we have a very strong case. We do not have, special subsidized lumber. We don't have all of the things that the U.S. says we have that make it unfair for Canadian lumber to be going into the U.S., and we win every time at WTO. The legal process allows them to continue to fight the same battle and to continue to put Canadian companies in jeopardy simply by taking them to court over and over again.
Free trade is important. It's an important part of driving our economy, and we've been working very hard with the United States in particular to demonstrate the value that Canada provides to the United States. We are their largest customer, and so we've been meeting with various representatives, political, bureaucratic, to drive home that message that Canada is a valuable customer, but also a valuable partner, and that both of our shared prosperity depends on that relationship.
Robinson adds the Canadian government needs to continue to negotiate aggressively and fight for free trade. Molly Fromer, TBT News.
A commercial drone pilot in Thunder Bay is applauding the new rules for flying the devices as a hobby in Canada. Until now, recreational drone pilots had only guidelines to follow, but they're now facing much stricter regulations. Those new laws are also welcome news to airline companies. Luisa Alvarez reports.
They certainly seem like a fun toy, and flying them may look easy, but these drones are a radio signal controlled aircraft and are anything but a toy. Alan Auld runs his own film company in the city. He says commercial drone operators like himself have already had to follow strict rules for years regarding how high and where they can be flown. He says many amateurs are unaware of the dangers, and these rules are necessary to keep everyone safe.
We're always wondering why were we penalized when the amateurs can get away and do whatever they want without consequence. And I think now, leveling that playing field, it's making them have some responsibility and accountability.
Incidents involving drones and commercial planes have more than tripled between 2014 to 2016, which prompted these new regulations. Drone operators must now have a special flight operations certificate if they're being used within 9 kilometers of an airport. Officials from Bearskin Airlines and Porter Airlines are also applauding the new rules. Porter CEO Robert DeLuce says safety governs everything they do as an airline. So whatever can be done to improve safe operations of drones is a worthwhile effort.
Our Thunder Bay Airport is right in the city. Those planes, they're flying down Arthur Street from end to end, and they're coming in at around 500 feet before they land. These drones can go up to several thousand feet and very quickly. So to get in the line of a plane is quite dangerous. And for someone who just goes out to buy one and doesn't put much thought in there, that's a dangerous thought.
Drones can't be flown higher than 90 meters from the ground, be 75 meters within people, animals, or buildings, and your name, address, and phone number must be clearly marked on your drone. Penalties for failure to comply with these new regulations can be up to $3,000. Luisa Alvarez, TBT News.
Some of the animals at the Chippewa Wildlife exhibit that were expected to be transferred elsewhere may have to stay at the zoo for the rest of their lives. City Council voted to close the zoo at Chippewa Park last month. City staff has since been searching for new homes for the 23 wild animals currently at the exhibit. However, the caribou, elk, and deer may just have to stay put. Engineering and Operations Director Kayla Dixon says the hooved animals need to be tested for tuberculosis, a task that's both challenging and difficult for the animals.
The testing is hard on the animals. So TB testing involves basically we need to sedate the animals so that we can shave them and do the injection. And so that's the first time. And then, there's a period of time that has to pass, and then we have to go and do that again. It is difficult on the animals, and we're certainly trying to make decisions that are in the best interest of the animals.
The exhibit is scheduled to close on May 1st, but the city says the remaining animals will be cared for there until the end of their natural lives. If dogs are man's best friend, then ladybugs are a plant's best friend. Today, the Centennial Conservatory released 9,000 of the spotted insects. A black lady beetle, common lacewing, and praying mantis will also be released into the conservatory. The facility hasn't used pesticides for 4 years now, instead relying on these predatory insects to eat the aphids, mealybugs, and other insects that feast on the plant life.
They build up a resistance to pesticides, and they're harder to kill. So after a while, you're just got such a big buildup of them. This way, bad bugs, they can't build up a resistance to bugs.
The mantises are still in egg cases, but have been placed in a chamber so that visitors can witness the eggs hatching in the near future. It's St. Patrick's Day, and the Thunder Bay Humane Society is hoping the luck of the Irish is on their side at their St. Patrick's Adoption Fair. Members of the Humane Society brought some furry friends with them to Victoriaville to try and help find them forever homes. Attendees were able to get up close and personal with the animals, even getting a kiss from a puppy. Fundraising coordinator Cassandra Nordahl says they've held events like this in the past, but never on St. Patrick's Day. She says they're also using the event to raise money for the organization and to collect donations of blankets and towels.
The last time we did an adoption fair through PetSmart, we had 28 adoptions. I brought 30 animals. The previous one, we did 16, so it honestly varies. Right now, we have 7 animals in total here, and as soon as they go, we're going to go back to the shelter and we're going to bring our, our bigger dogs and stuff like that here as well.
Nordahl says the timing for the fair couldn't be better, as the shelter is at maximum capacity, and one of the dogs they rescued last month is pregnant and due to give birth any day now. The kids at the Boys and Girls Club celebrated St. Patrick's Day as the organization wrapped up a full week of activities over the March break.
Happy St. Patty's Day!
A wide range of activities have been held at the club on Windsor Street during the week off school. Today it was time for some St. Patty's Day fun. The children enjoyed a shamrock treasure hunt, a competition for who wore the most green, and a Jell-O eating contest for those who wanted to participate. Assistant Program Coordinator Dave Lyle says the kids leave with more than just a smile on their face.
We like the kids every day to come down and have a good time, to take part in some organized activities, leave with a good idea of sportsmanship and fun and self-confidence as well.
Bingo was fun because there was prizes and I was the first one to win. Was a skip because I just got to be myself and I got to play with my friends.
Next month, officials at the Boys and Girls Club plan to take the kids to the museum to explore the polar bear exhibit. They'll also visit a local fire station. There are plenty of spots still available. Contact the Boys and Girls Club for more details. We'll certainly know luck of the Irish for us today as far as the weather is concerned.
No, actually, Christina, if you're like Ryan and you're pretty attached to your snowblower or snow shovels, then today was for you. Look like a genius.
Well, it was nothing that we didn't expect. I mean, it's hard to believe a weather like this after yesterday. Today we reached a high of 1 degree, a little bit cooler than yesterday, low of -3, but some light snow. Currently in our region, temperatures ranging from 3 degrees in Sault Ste. Marie to about the freezing mark in Kenora, and then -11 in Big Trout Lake. Now, tonight, we are dipping down to a low of a -3 with some more flurries. But as you can see, that system heads out of our way by Saturday afternoon. And of course, I'll have more details for you later in the newscast.
Thanks a lot, Christina. When we return, another plane crash in the country to tell you about. This one fatal in Montreal involving 2 small planes. We'll have the details when we return.